Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch is coming back on the James Show. She's an immigration attorney here in Texas. And, we had a series of protests over the last couple of weekends, and there was one that's happening in the state capitals in all 50 states supposedly today. Do you think that the protests are generally helping the cause or calcifying opposition to them?
Well, my guess is that the opposition doesn't care so much about the protests because, if anything, they probably are maybe a nuisance. But I was at the protest in Austin, where I live, for several hours today, and I can tell you that the people who were there felt some community, some support, some solidarity, and generally felt uplifted by just being around like-minded people. Because I think what can happen is, you just doom scroll and you see all the news and it just feels very scary and overwhelming, and then gathering with a group of people that are all sort of motivated to talk about it and fight back at least feels somewhat better.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that there's some people who can't have their mind change on this subject either way on both sides of the aisle. But there's a whole bunch of people on the fence that I think I would recommend, if you are an immigration protester, put down the foreign flags and pick up the American flag, because you're kind of, if you don't want to have an allegiance to this country, you want to have allegiance to another country. I don't think that's going to be well received by the natives.
I think I take your point. What I can say is that, a lot of the people speaking and talking were talking about how much immigrants contribute to this country, how immigrants, they've probably built the Capitol grounds we were standing on today. And this country is awesome and great and everything that it is because of immigrants. And so it's really more around let's honor and respect and admire immigrants and their contributions to the United States, and that's what the conversation centers around.
Well, see, this is another point that I think a lot of people find abrasive, is conflating legal and illegal immigrants. There's not a widespread movement against legal immigrants. Most of the consternation and complaints are about illegal immigration, and the deportations are obviously of illegal and not legal immigrants. So when you put those two together, I feel like you're kind of talking past your opposition.
It's really interesting that you bring that up, because my perspective feels similarly about it. Feels untrue for right-wing people, Trump people, to say we are all for legal immigration, because if that is true, then why are we seeing things like the cancellation of the CBP-1 app and the cancellation of certain parole programs and the mechanisms where people really are doing everything they know to do to follow the right process? Those are the things that are being revoked.
Well, I can answer that, because that presupposes it's the right process. The CBP app and some of these other little new paperwork things that came up in the last administration are just a clear workaround loophole, so these people don't have to wait in line. They don't have to go through the already established legal system. And I can't blame them. It's an 11, 13-year wait to get in from Mexico legally. And so this is just a way to get around that and cut in line through the legal immigrants who are trying to do it the right way.
Not necessarily. I understand where you're coming from, but immigration is really complex. The main ways that people immigrate are through employment and family-based immigration, and just like you said, the wait times are really backlogged. But we've also granted asylum and certain parole programs in this country since after World War II. It's a 70-year-old law that we have, and so creating a system, a mechanism where people can register and submit their background check and wait for their turn is the right way to do it. And so until we see actual expansion of legal pathways that reduce the backlogs, I won't believe it when I hear people say I'm all for legal immigration, because that's not the actions that we're seeing. And I'll tell you, just like people are saying, oh, it's the criminals who are getting deported. I literally had to call a mother yesterday and tell her that her husband and her son weren't coming out of their check-in appointment, and she was crying because her son's going to miss his AP test. Someone who never has had a criminal history, interaction with law enforcement before in his life.
Is he an illegal immigrant?
He's an asylum seeker.
Right.
And another client that the week before that is
an asylum seeker from where?
Well, I'm not going to reveal.
What, from Mexico? See, this is the thing. If you're an asylum seeker from Mexico, that sounds like obviously you're exploiting the asylum as another loophole to not have to wait in line.
Like from Mexico?
Yes, because
that's not the way asylum works. Asylum is: have you been persecuted? Do you have a well-founded fear of persecution based on your race, your religion, your nationality, your political opinion, or your membership in a particular social group? It doesn't say, "Oh, if you're from Mexico, you don't qualify for asylum." That's not what the law says. That's not how Congress wrote it.
If 11 million people qualify for asylum, then the definition is too broad. And if they are so persecuted, why are they running around downtown flying Mexican flags if it's such a hellhole place that they can't live there?
Listen, somebody can have pride in their country, and they can also not feel safe going back there. That's how the Venezuelans feel, and there is nothing wrong with people having pride in where they came from and also believing in the greatness of the country.
No, they should be very proud. They should also pick up an American flag if this place is so much better that they have to jump the line in front of the poor legal immigrants who are also from Mexico but doing the right thing. I just think that's unfair to the legal immigrant community.
You're assuming that immigrants don't feel extreme pride and gratitude to
Never
this
assume
country.
that. Never assume that.
Well, then why did you say, why aren't they picking up the American flag? Of course they are. They love this country. They think it's incredible. This is the land of opportunity. But that doesn't mean that they can't also feel pride in where they came from.
Of course they can, but they're not flying American flags.
How do you know that?
Because I see them with my own eyes.
They're not flying American flags. Are you going around and talking to every single Venezuelan? Stop making sweeping arguments about communities of people when you don't know anything about them.
I didn't say zero people flew an American flag. I'm saying from my own eyes, when I saw the protest, there were far more flags of foreign countries than American flags, and that seems counterintuitive for people who are claiming asylum.
Listen. People are protesting the treatment of the American government of people of other nations. So it's not really the kind of place where you're going to see a bunch of people celebrating the actions of America. But there were American flags there, too. I mean, there were flags from all over the place.
Martin Luther King flew the American flag, and he grew up in segregation.
I'm not saying that no one should fly the American flag. What I'm telling you is because someone is flying a flag from another country doesn't mean they don't also love this country.
Love it. This is why I like having you on, Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch. Doesn't back down for nothing. You get credit for that. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Find her at Lincoln-Goldfinch Law. Lincoln-Goldfinch Law. She can put up with me.